Okay.
Some of it, not all of it.
93 minutes left on the card, so.
Sorry, guys. We've got a tech working on the heat situation, and we will get it fixed as soon as possible. Until then, I'm relying on the fact that you guys are sprightly teenagers, and resilient, and you'll figure it out. It's funny. Mr. Parks, whenever you're ready.
Yep.
All right, awesome.
You're all set.
So, guys, this is going to live on the internet for forever, so don't say anything that you regret. It's a good message to those of you at home as well. My name is Troy Podell. I'm the guy that's been sticking memes up around your school, as well as been on your morning announcements for the past couple of weeks. I am our school district's coordinator of career readiness, which basically means that it's my job to help connect you with opportunities to educate yourselves about the huge world of work. Yes, world of work that exists out there for you. And our guest today for Lunch and Learn is going to be supremely helpful in doing just that. He is my fellow board of directors member for the Downingtown-Thorndale Regional Chamber of Commerce. He's currently the president. And in addition is a wonderful fixture in the community, helping to build connections and community in the Downingtown region. It's said that there's some people in your life you just know are cornerstones, right? They're people around whom communities are built and around whom businesses grow to be very successful. And our guest today, Mike Glover, is certainly that. So without any further ado, without further inflating his ego, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Mike Glover. Mike?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me out here. I'll go through quickly what we're going to chat about, and then we'll hit the topics. So I'm going to go through a little bit about my education, the work history, what I'm doing from a volunteer perspective right now. I have some statistics in there that'll kind of show you some of the things going on as you're looking forward to the next couple of years. I'll talk about the company Advantage that I work for currently, some information about the Downingtown-Thorndale Chamber of Commerce as well, and then we'll finish up with some points about things to think about and things you can take away with you. You want to hit? And we haven't rehearsed this yet, so you're the first ones with this. So education. I went to Downingtown High School here. I actually walked to Lionville Elementary School. This was a middle school when I went here. I graduated a couple of years ago, 1998. It was only one high school back then. I then went on to Millersville University for my first year. I was in there as a math education major, went through and decided I didn't want to take up like Calculus 12. So I decided that was enough for me, and I'm not going to pursue that. I wanted to teach like algebra level. And you had to get a post-secondary education for that certificate, and I decided that's not quite where I wanted to be. So I transferred after my freshman year to Westchester University. Got my degree in business management in 2002. And then I took about a year and a half off after that, went back to Westchester for my master's degree in business administration. It's called an MBA. A lot of you will hear that as you're progressing in the years here. If I can give you a piece of advice, do that before you start getting involved with a family and kids and all of that. It was night school, so I worked all day, went to school at night, one night a week. But doing it now with two kids and all that, it just wouldn't happen. So take a little time off and then jump back into it. I had a job that paid for 80% of it. So if you can get a job and they'll pay for you to go back to school and get another degree, take advantage of it. I took the class, gave them the bill, they gave me 80% of the money back. It was a very good program, and I'm glad I did it. So my work experience. The first job while I was in college at Westchester University was for First Financial Bank, which was down on Quarry Road. It's over by Downingtown Country Club there. These are all small companies, by the way, that I've worked for, and I've found that's my niche more so than working for a large Fortune 500 company for now. And so from the bank, I started as a teller. I was going through college. I'd go to school usually 8 to 12 in the morning, then go to work from 1 to 5 in the evening every day, and go from there. Once I graduated, I went over to be a head teller in Thorndale. Another year or so, I went into their operations department as an assistant manager to kind of work on the back end of the bank stuff, deposits and all that, how all that works. And one day, one of my bosses said to me, "How about you go into the facilities department?" And I said, "Sure," for no good reason. I had no experience in it, but I said, why not? Might as well learn something new. So I did that, and I worked on, when our merger, we were building new headquarters and fitting it out. So I learned something new, something I could take to any company, not just a bank. I'm doing facilities management, construction management. I now have a good background, a good base that I could take anywhere. Then I moved over to Penn Liberty Bank, who also does not exist anymore, just like First Financial. Banking, as you'll learn, they turn over pretty quick. Penn Liberty is now WSFS. You'll see some of those as you go around. I built 5 of their branches, Westchester and some stuff in Montgomery County, and also a new headquarters for them as well. And once they kind of leveled off with their expansion, I moved over to Advantage 9 years ago. I just was 9 years last week. And so there now we are a service provider for services that I used to request when I worked on the other side of it. So now I've seen both sides of the, hey, we have something broken, can you help us fix it? And now I'm on the other side that says, we hear you have something broke, let us fix it. So it gives you, I've come full circle in seeing both sides of how this works. It gives you, oh, you jumped ahead of me. See, we got to practice this a little bit. So through all these, I've maintained a lot of the same relationships as we've gone through. I see same people. Troy, I haven't known that long, but as you move through these careers, you'll see a lot of these same people. So you want to make sure you maintain that. Like I said, when I moved that second job up there and became a facilities director or facilities manager at the bank, it laid a foundation for what I'm doing now. I didn't know it at the time, but it laid a foundation then. And as I said, you can take those skill sets and put them into different industries. I could go work for Comcast or a hospital or anything because I have the real estate background. It doesn't have to be for a bank or for a real estate company because everybody's looking for those kind of things. And especially at the bank and some at Penn Liberty, at both banks, some of those colleagues now I work with on the board of directors, at the Chamber of Commerce. A lot of these people I've seen afterwards. So you want to make sure you keep those relationships going as you grow your career. Now we can jump. Just a quick slide about volunteer experience. So as my mother-in-law said, I need to get my head examined because I am the president of all 3 of these organizations at the moment. It's about giving back to the community. It's all volunteer positions, so all 3 of those, there's not a cent that comes towards my name for that. But it sets a good example for not only colleagues, but for my kids, for other people that I'm coming across that, you know, it's a good thing to do. You give back. You're really showing the community that you want to be involved. It has actually added leadership skills that I didn't have and still have to learn as well. But it also gives you speaking skills. I'm standing here in front of a room of you. When I was in middle school or high school, this is the last place I'd ever dream of being. I had no desire and still don't really have much of a desire to be standing up here, but I am. So like the public speaking classes we had to take, I hated it the night before. I didn't sleep, didn't do it because I hate public speaking, but here I am. So it kind of gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit, makes you do some things. So those of you who are in the same boat and don't like doing this, you may be standing here one day. And you might be Troy's boss again, or Mr. Podell's boss. You go ahead. So here's some statistics just for you to think about. 35% of the students change their college major at least once, and 37 change colleges at least once. I happen to be somebody who did both of those, as I told you. So if you add those numbers together, 72%, that's 3/4 of this room is probably going to either change their major or change their college. So don't be afraid if you get into college as you're looking forward to that to make a change. Whether it's the location, the major, whatever it is, if you're not comfortable, make a change. Or at least consider it, talk about it. Don't think once you pick something as a junior or a senior, that's what you have to do for the rest of your life.
75% of bachelor's degree holders are working in unrelated career fields, broadcasting major.
Well, you're on camera.
That's true.
So the next one is about LinkedIn, which is like Facebook for old people in business. So I have 881 connections on there. Those people know 300,000 people, which is, so by knowing those 800 or almost 900 people, it connects me to a potential 300,000 people for good and bad. So if there's good things about me, the word can spread. If there's bad things about me, that our company didn't do good service, I was rude to somebody, whatever, it can quickly mushroom into 300,000 different people can find out about it. So you just want to make sure you're paying attention to that. Since we are a company that does a lot of hands-on work, blue-collar work, as they used to say, the average white-collar job is $51,000, and this is across the country, so every region's different. Your electricians, your plumbers, your painters, you can see where they fall in that spectrum. Maintenance technicians, they're within reasonable dollars of that. Debt for college, $30,000 or so, about when you get out of a 4-year college. we're going to a trade school, which is usually about 2 years, that's about $10,000. So one of the benefits to like a trade school is you can usually have a job while you're doing that. You go to school, so you're making some money while you're going to school, which you can as a college as well, for your degree, but you might not be doing exactly what you want. And we've had a change, I think, in the vocational school, the mentality of it. When I was in school, it was thought of as a negative thing. It shouldn't be anymore. You can see these numbers. The pay is getting similar to what these other jobs are. So do what you want to do, not what you want others to do. If you want to go out and be a plumber or an electrician or do that, you can save money on your house because you're not calling them when you need to do something. You can find a good job because everybody needs them. And don't think you have to go to college just because somebody's telling you to go to college. Think about it. Whatever you want to do it. So a little bit about Advantage. We were started in 2005. It's a women-owned business. She read one of those black and yellow books. It's called How to Start a Business for Dummies. Got somebody to give her some money and started the business. Within 2 years, she had paid them back the money that they had given her, and off we went. So 13 years old, or was 13 years old in August. We do maintenance in the tri-state area. I'm headed to Baltimore after this because we have a client down there that I'm going to go see. And we do property management. So we manage the building, the tenants, the vendors, everything that's going on with it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The phone calls come to us, and we have to deal with it. It's a small company. We're about 25 employees. 15 of them are out on the road doing maintenance gigs. The other 10 are in the office. So it's a small company, but it's got many different career paths. We have somebody who's an accountant. We have the CEO. We have a business manager. We have myself doing the operations and the business development. We have the guys out on the road. We have a maintenance supervisor. It's a small 30-person company, but it's a good sample of what's out there. Just because you see a company is real estate or just because it's medical doesn't mean there aren't opportunities within that company for whatever the degree is you have. So just keep that out there. We're a WBE, which is a Women Business Enterprise. That is, some companies out there have a designation where they have to hit diversity to have small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and that's one of the things we are. And we use a large work order system and accounting software called Yardi that is just on there so that you kind of have an idea that there are things out there really you can go out and put it all in one. That we could need a technology person in 3 years to handle this kind of software. There's those options that just because it's a property management or real estate firm doesn't mean that because you're a technology person or an accountant or somebody else that you don't have a fit there. Okay. So this is just a picture of our leadership team, in case you know anybody floating around. Trish started it 13 years ago. Kelly's been there about 11 years. Melissa has been there 7 or 8 now, I guess. I was there 9. John just started with us a year ago, and Jason's been there from like the 3rd month of the company. So he's been almost 13 years. All of these, except for Jason, were previous customers of Advantage. So one of the things that Trish likes to say is that you work with somebody, you get to see how they work. She saw me when I was working for the banks. We had hired Advantage. Melissa was a property manager for her for years ago. Kelly used to work for the people who gave her the money to start the business. All these people have previous connections, and you really get to see that. So again, we're back into don't burn bridges. The connections that you make now, you're going to find people coming around. So just make sure you're ready for it, that you don't burn the bridge of who you're with now. If anybody has, we do some opportunities for job shadowing or internship or something. You can reach out to the career folks, Mrs. Wick or Mr. Padell here. I'm sure can put us in touch if somebody's looking for something. Downingtown-Thorndale Regional Chamber of Commerce is a long name. It's the smallest chamber of commerce, one of the smallest in the state. It's definitely the smallest one in the county. But still, we do a good job, we think. We've been here we're established in 1945, and the goal is to ensure the continuing economic prosperity of the region, which is a broad topic, but we're trying to connect businesses with other businesses, and in many cases, businesses to consumers. In Downingtown, right in the middle of town by Green Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, there's a Fall Fest every September. The Chamber puts that on. We do a lot of different events. We might do some things in the summer for a summer jam series that's going on. A lot of things go on. It happens behind the scenes. There's not a lot of noise to it. The Christmas parade that just happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago or so, we were part of that. I was stuck riding in a car waving at people. We did the Christmas tree lighting the week before that. So there's things that are going on that aren't always just commerce. It's about connecting the community to the business community. We do a book scholarship every year, so if you guys, the word usually gets around right about now from your guidance department. So there is a book scholarship that we award. We do 3 every year. So that information should be coming out to you as well. And we're hoping to partner a little bit more with the school district on some of these things as we go forward with Mr. Podell on the board with me as well. We're going to start moving forward. So some of the stuff to take away from this, don't be afraid to change your major or your school. You have to find the right fit for you. If it's not a fit, whether it's a suburban school and you want to be in the middle of the city, or you're in the middle of the city and you want to be out in the country somewhere, it doesn't feel right, don't be afraid to make the change. Be flexible about both the school and the major. Could be changing either one. One of the things people look at on a resume is to finish what you start. So one of the first things is you're looking through a resume and you see somebody went to college for a year and a half and then stopped and never went back, and it's been 10 years. That's something that draws their eye. So make sure you start, you finish. It kind of shows that you've got the dedication and you're pushing through it. Do something you're going to enjoy. That's almost one of the biggest things I can say, is that you don't want to wake up every day and say, I can't believe I have to go crunch numbers again. It's not fun. So make sure it's going to take a little bit of time. You have to get out. You have to figure out what it is. Sometimes it's trial and error, but figure it out as soon as you can. Go back to school and get an advanced degree if somebody can pay for it. It makes it a lot easier. But right now, the regular associate's degree, bachelor's degree, they're the norm now. The master's degree is what you're taking, or your secondary education degree, post that. It's kind of where you're going above and beyond. So look for those opportunities. If you can find a company to pay for it, even better. Don't go to college just to go. The vocational schools are out there, can be just as beneficial as we talked about. So don't think just because 90% of the stuff we hear anymore is college, 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 that you have to do it. Look at all your options. Life is not a straight line to the top. There's hills, there's peaks, there's valleys. It's all over the place. And if you flip over, we'll show you kind of the idea. So pretend this is your career, year 5, it's going great. Then you drop down after that, and then you're going up 10, you're going up and across. You want it to trend in the right direction. You're going to have peaks and valleys. It's going to feel great. It's going to feel awful a couple years. It's not going to be good, but you want it to trend that way. Best way to do that is to get comfortable at the beginning, figure out what you want to do, set a goal, set a path, and work towards it. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. You're going to lose your job. You're going to get fired. You're going to get a new job that you love that's paying you twice as much. Then you're going to have kids, and you're going to lose all your money in deductions and health insurance and all that. It's going to go up and down. But the goal is to have it on that kind of a trajectory. Number 2, one major can lead to different career paths. Similar as we talked about with my company, where you can do a lot of different things. Again, you're going to see this through most of these. Find the right fit and do something you're going to enjoy. It's no fun to wake up every day and say, I hate going to work. When you're in school, whether it's vocational school or college, learn through your electives. If you're an accounting major, you're not going to take all accounting classes. Take something else that you're going to enjoy, whether it's history or whether it's something else that you can do, and learn through that as well, because that might give you a second avenue or second career later in life. Internships are a big deal. Might as well do the internship now and figure out that you hate being an accountant, as opposed to doing it for 15 years, having your degree, and saying, okay, now I hate it. What can I do with my life? Your career is like building a house. You want all the structural components in place before you go work on the aesthetics. So you've got to get your plumbing and your electrical and your structural stuff in place before you start painting the walls and hanging TVs. Get your base down, ready to go. Same thing as if playing pool, which probably your parents anymore. I don't know if anybody still plays pool. But you always want to think a couple moves ahead. You're not hitting the ball that's in front of you. You want to figure out where you're going to leave the ball, where your opponent's going to hit next. You want to make sure you're planning ahead. I've only got 2 more. We are out of time?
No, you're
Okay. So as we talked about, vocational technical education is a good career path. Again, find the right fit, do something you're going to enjoy, whatever it is. Learn different trades so you can diversify. You might love carpentry, but you want to learn the electrical side and the plumbing side so that when you build that wall, you can put the electric in the wall and you can put the plumbing in the wall. Same thing with any other trade or with any other career. Just because you're the accountant, you might want to know how to take that through running the income statement. You don't want to just know how to do the accounts payable or the accounts receivable. Intern again, see what you like and dislike about it. They can earn just as much as white-collar jobs, as we talked about a couple slides ago. And most times you have less debt when you come out of college, which is a good thing. Locally, the CCIU is fantastic down on Boot Road in Downingtown. There's the Universal Technical Institute up in Chester Springs. That's a good one. They do a lot of automotive and those kind of things, but it's a great school. Delaware County Community College just put in a whole new STEM wing, just opened a couple months ago. And then July, I think it was, I was in Washington, D.C. with Senator Casey. We had a round table in the Capitol to go over, it's called the Perkins CTE funding. They just reauthorized it for more money for post-secondary education for STEM type projects. So there is money being put out there for these types of things. So look at it, because they're going to start popping up even more now with some of this funding that's just been reauthorized. Last one. And the last one, number 4, networking. It's going to help your current and future career. I'm a little bit older than Mr. Podell, but in 20 years, we may run into each other again at something else, and we're going to remember back. If I fired him from the board of directors from the Chamber of Commerce next week, he's not going to remember that so fondly in 20 years when we run into each other again. So just make sure you're...
Are you trying to tell me something?
Not yet. You just got elected a week ago, so you've got time. So connect with colleagues, customers, and competitors. You want to keep your friends close and your enemies closer, as they like to say. When I was in college, I rented a house at Westchester. The guy I rented it from is on the board of directors with me at the Chamber of Commerce. 3 of the customers, when I was a teller at that bank, are on the board of directors with me at that Chamber of Commerce. One of the women I worked with at the bank is on the board of directors with the Chamber of Commerce. It all comes full circle, so be ready for it. Stay in contact every few months. Reach out to somebody if you haven't heard from them and just say, hey, how's it going? You never know what's going to pop from that. Don't burn bridges, we talked about. Before that last one, your social footprint stays with you forever. Once it's out online, it's there forever. I've heard, I don't do it myself, but I've heard a lot of people that one of the first things they do before they interview somebody is do a search through Facebook and Twitter and all those things looking for what you've put out there. You've seen many times celebrities, football players, athletes, all this. 6 years ago they said something racist, said something out, and it comes out 6 years later, and it's a detriment to them. So just make sure as fast as you can click post and try and delete it, somebody's grabbed it and it's out there. So just be aware of that. The forgetting curve. So what this is more than 50% of what you learn is forgotten within an hour. 66% is forgotten by the end of the day, and 80% is forgotten by the end of the month. So when you go home and your parents say, what'd you do today? 66% of you aren't going to remember this, basically. Half of you are going to forget it by the time you go eat lunch. And by the end of the month, there's only 20% of you, so what's that, 4 or 5 people that are in here are even going to remember what we're talking about. Don't let people forget about you. Do these kind of things, stay in front of them. Stay in touch with them so they don't forget about you. You want to hit the last thing is just that curve on a visual. So that's just a visual of it, that they did a test or did an experiment, and he was doing things, talked about it, went back over it at these different intervals, and that's the percentage of what he actually retained over the course of, you see it goes from immediate all the way down to 31 days. And after about day 4 or 5 or so, it's basically 20% is all you remember. So repetition, getting back in front of people will help bring your people's memory of you back up to the higher percentages on here. And that should be the end of my contact info. That's me. Don't hesitate to reach out with a phone call, an email, a letter, if anybody still writes letters. I'm here if you need me to be a resource. I'm happy to be a resource for you. If you have questions, anything, I'm around. Mr. Podell knows how to get in touch with me as well. Does anybody have any questions, or are we up against? We all right?
We're not up against it.
Sorry?
Questions you guys have?
Oh yeah, sorry.
What kind of stuff did you do in high school before you went into your major and
I had taken a lot of the business classes. It was before a lot of them. I think it's become a bigger thing now. I was one of the first entrepreneurship classes that we had, or that was offered at Downingtown. Again, this was in the 90s, before a lot of it was like it is now. I'd taken a couple of accounting classes, some basic business. I actually did take a public speaking class for some reason, and hated every minute of it. But here I am standing, so it helped. But here I am. And so there wasn't quite as much of a business. We didn't have to pick tracks, kind of like they do now. But it was getting the feel for that. If I thought I was more inclined towards the sciences, maybe I'd be taking a few more of the physics, biology, those kind of things to figure out which science I wanted. So I took the accounting, and I'll be honest with you, the accounting class I took 2 years of accounting my junior and senior year. was the exact class that I took my freshman year of college. So I got it 100% through the first year of college in accounting because it was exactly what I had done years one. It took 2 years of high school to do my 1 year of accounting in college, but I got through my first year with no problem because I had learned it here. So find it. If you enjoy it or at least piques your interest, then it's something you can look forward to in college.
What other questions do you guys have? Well,
That was just a scratch.
Mike, thank you so much for your time.
You got it. Thank you.